Have you ever experienced somebody speaking at you rather than speaking to you? I think from time to time we've all experienced that, haven't we? Rather than actually speaking to us as human beings, they're almost preaching at us. Now, if you come from a religious background, you'll know what I mean. Rather than communicating in a way that is conversational, they're almost barking at you, directing you, telling you what to do, where you've gone wrong. But they're missing the point that all communication is a conversation. Even the communications you have in your own head. You are conversing, essentially, with yourself. When we talk to people, that's a conversation. And when we talk on stage, it's still a conversation. It might be heavily weighted to one side, but we don't want to preach at people. We don't want to talk at people. We want to converse with people. And in this video, I'm going to show you how you can do just that. Converse with people rather than talk at them. Now, the idea of learning how to converse with people, this conversational manner of speaking to people, is basically learning how to hook attention. We want to capture people's attention and hold on to it. Preaching at people tends to turn them off. They don't want to listen anymore to what you're saying. But conversing with people, conversations are interesting. They engage people. And we're talking really here about capturing attention. And the best way to do that is to get it from the very beginning of what you are saying. If you can capture people at the beginning of your presentation, you will likely hold on to them all the way through your presentation. And I want to give you something that will help you to capture that attention. Something that you can take away from this video and keep forever completely for free. If you go to my website, www.the-speakersacademy.com/hook, or check out the video description below, you can download my free guide to hooking attention. It unlocks the game, so you know how you can go and capture that attention at the very beginning of what you have to say. So if you want to get that guide, go to the description below or to my website, download it for free. It's yours to keep forever. So we need to change our mindset when it comes to speaking. You see, we don't want to preach at people, like we said. We want to converse with them, even though it's a one-way communication. Preaching is one way in the sense of you are talking at them and you're almost ignoring any feedback that they give you. If you're talking like that, you're going to miss things that the audience need to keep them engaged, even though you're the only one who is speaking. It's a change in our mindset. We can't think like talking directly at the audience. Instead, we have to think about how we can draw them into what we're saying. When we talk to people one-on-one, only one person can speak at a time. When you're presenting, obviously, it's heavily weighted towards you, but the audience will still give you feedback. They will still nod along if they agree with the points you're making. They can interact with you maybe by showing hands or laughing. If they laugh or clap, that's an engagement. They are communicating back to you in a non-verbal way sometimes, but in a way that can help them to stay engaged. And the other thing they do, or you should be doing really for them, is sharing understanding. When they go, "Oh, I get it," they've communicated. They haven't actually said anything. That happens in their head. But by what you've said, the way you've said it, you have conversed to them and they have understood what you're saying. Just like when you're talking to someone and you say something and they go, "Oh yeah, I never thought of it that way." You've conversed with them, haven't you? You've shared something in a way that is two-way communication. So that's how we want to view our public speaking. Not as I am going to speak to you, more that I'm going to converse with you. I'm going to have a conversation with you. And if we view it that way, that we're conversing with our audience, and then we look for the feedback from them in non-verbal ways, well, then we can create a two-way conversation with our audience. And this is something that comedians do all the time. If you watch a comedian show, you'll see that they converse in this way with their audience. They get them to laugh, they get them to engage, they get them to heckle sometimes as well, because they want them to be engaged. They want them to be a part of the conversation, even though they're the one who is speaking. So we need to change our mindset from talking at people, preaching at them, to conversing with them, from one way to a two-way conversation. Now, one way we can do this is by thinking about how or what it is we want our audience to take away. We want them to gain something from our conversation with them. Think about it, you can think about it this way. Sometimes you listen to a podcast or a TV show which is, so-and-so in conversation with. They are having a conversation and they want you to be a part of it, even though you're not in the room. They want you to hear their conversation and feel a part of the conversation that they're having. They know what they want to give you. So you need to do the same. What are you going to give your audience from the conversation you're going to have with them? Another really useful tip is not to imagine them as a faceless crowd. There's I don't know how many people, 10, 50, 100, 1,000, whatever. There is a group of people in front of you, but they are individuals. Every single person in that audience is an individual who you want to speak to. View them as individuals and view it as you want to give each one of them something to take away. If you view it that way, changing our mindset from big faceless crowd and a one-way conversation to a conversation with individuals in the audience, you completely change how you talk to people. So we can do that, can't we? We can change our conversation style, our way we speak to be conversational with people and converse with our audience one-on-one in the moment that we're speaking on stage. Now, there are certain techniques we can use in our conversation style to come across as being more conversational when we're speaking to a large audience. And we can do that by thinking about the language we use. You see, a lot of the time when you look at people who run big companies and they talk to their employees, they use an awful lot of technical jargon and words which, outside of that group may not mean anything, but even to that group can be a little bit alienating. We want to speak in a language that is simpler, more direct and more understandable to our audience. Try to be inclusive of the way that they feel and think when it comes to what we're talking about. So if you imagine somebody who is in your audience who barely knows anything about the topic you're speaking about, maybe they're new at, your job and you're giving a presentation, well, you wouldn't want to alienate them by using technical jargon and phrases and words that only you and people in the audience who've been in the job a long time would know. That's great for them, the people who've been there a long time, but not great for the little man who's just started. So you've got to think about your audience. Make it simple. We tend to try to overcomplicate everything. We want a big, complicated, because we feel good when it's a bit more complex. But actually, it's easier for you if it's simple. It's easier for your audience if it's simple. Keep things nice and simple. Another way which we can sound more conversational with our language is to use contractions of words. Rather than going do not, was not, is not, we can go don't, isn't, wouldn't. Because it sounds more relaxed. It sounds like you're chilled. If you're using heavy words like that, like do not this, do not, it comes across as very strict. It comes across as more authoritarian in the way we speak. We want to be more relaxed. Not too relaxed, but we want to come across as understandable, relatable, easygoing when we're speaking. And the problem is when we get on stage, we tend to get a bit more we struggle in this way because we start to worry about the way that we're presenting. Just try to be yourself, relax into it, and try to talk to your audience the way you normally would with anyone else. Our delivery is really important when we're speaking to our audience, and we want to be conversational. Now, when you think about a conversation you have with people, there's peaks and troughs. They get excited about something. They may talk really passionately. They may rant about something, and then they relax a bit. They maybe even sit back and they chill, and it ebbs and flows. Vary your pace when you're speaking. When you're getting excited about something, or you're about to deliver a really hard-hitting part of the message that you want to give, well, then do that. So just like in a normal conversation, where you would be excited at some moments and then you're thoughtful in others, we need to vary how we speak. The the pace. We can't be high energy all the time because that is exhausting for our audience. So we need to peak and ebb and flow, vary our pace, our volume, our pitch to be interesting. We don't want to be monotonous. That is not how a conversation would. Have you ever spoken to somebody who's like that, who's a bit like boom, 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 and they have no change in varying pitch, tone, pace, or any of that? They're boring to speak to. We don't want to be like that. We want to be engaging. We can do that with our delivery, of our pace, varying our volume and our pitch. Another really useful part of our delivery is to pause. When we talk to people, sometimes we'll pause naturally in what we're saying, because when we pause for that moment, it allows them to take in what we've just said, especially if we've just spoken something which is very important, very interesting, very relevant, or challenges their assumptions or something like that. Something which is really, you want them to get the point you're making. If you race on to the next point, how on earth are they going to take time to absorb it? Pause, wait for a moment, and you'll be surprised the impact a brief pause can make. Another way we can have a more conversational manner about us when we're talking with people is to make eye contact. Have you ever spoken to somebody who doesn't look you in the eye? It can be a little, you look at them and you think, are you interested in me? Because you've just been looking over there the whole time. And that is how it comes across to our audience, that they don't feel like we're interested in them if we're not looking them in the eye. Now, we're talking about a group of people. You can't look every single one of them in the eye. That would be staring at one individual person, and that is uncomfortable. So you can't do that. But instead, you can look around the audience. And the way I like to do it, this is a personal thing for me, because I struggle with eye contact. When it comes to talking to people, I just want to look away. Being shyer and more introverted, looking people in the eye is, for me, really hard. And I find when I do it, I feel like I lose where I was, my point that I was making. But what I do find really good is to try to make points to people. So I look at somebody in the audience and I'll make the statement that I'm making. So if I'm saying something, I'll speak to them directly. And then I'll speak to the next person and try to look at them while I make the next sentence to them. And I look back at the next person and I'll make the next sentence to them. So as if you're saying something to each individual person. Try to do that. And another tip is not to go down the row one at a time like a typewriter, because that looks a bit weird, and then back to the beginning and go across. We're trying to be natural in what we're doing. To pick somebody on this side and talk to them, and then pick somebody on the other side and talk to them. And another good tip is to speak to somebody. You see somebody, they seem to have a friendly face. Speak to them. That person, they seem friendly. For some reason, when I look at them, I don't feel intimidated or anything. Speak to that person and look for somebody else who gives you that confidence. Speak to them. And as you look around, you talk to people. And that's what we're talking about, having a conversation with the people in your audience. Another thing that comes across as conversational is the way we move when we are delivering our presentation. Now, when we talk to someone in a normal one-on-one conversation, your hands will move. You just make gestures as you talk. It's almost like, it's a weird thing that our bodies do this, that our hands move around while we're talking, So try to be as natural as possible. If you stand there like this, rigid, or even holding on to the podium or your notes, you look scared, you look robotic sometimes, wooden and uncomfortable, because you are. So it's about becoming natural with the way your body moves. Maybe even just watch yourself in a mirror or record yourself to see how your body moves. And once you understand that this is just natural, our hands move, and when they move, we're actually more engaging and we come across as more relaxed and more conversational, well then that helps us to not be so concerned with our hand movements. This entire section I've been talking about gestures, I have become overly concerned with the way my hands are moving. But I'm trying to just do what I naturally would do rather than overthinking the way that my hands are moving. So try to do the same. Try to just get comfortable with the way that you move. The whole idea of having a conversation, like I said at the beginning, with your audience, really is to be able to engage them. Like we said, we want to keep them engaged in the conversation we're having. If we preach at them, that's not engaging. If we converse with them, it's more engaging. We want to keep them engaged all the way through what we have to say. That's the only way will get to the point that we're trying to make with our presentation. So we need to work on our engagement. And an excellent way to bring them into the conversation is through participation. If we can ask a question and ask for a show of hands, we can ask people to communicate back to us, either to call out their answers, or if we could have a microphone set up at the front or someone to run around with one. We can ask them to engage in other ways. For example, downloading something or visiting a certain website, our website maybe, something like that. Because when we do that, we're drawing them into the conversation. When you ask someone to do something, a call to action, they are part of the conversation, whether that's verbally or just by being a part of what is going on. So use that as a way to really draw people in. You'll notice that some presentations, asking for shows of hands or asking for comments tends to come either at the beginning or the end. But it doesn't matter. You can use it whenever you like, all the way through if you like. Keep people engaged. The more you engage people, the less likely they are to wander off through your speech. If you're trying to talk to them and converse with them, but you don't engage them, they're bored. They're going to start thinking about other things. The human mind is great at being somewhere, but not technically being present because you're thinking about something else. Maybe, what am I going to have for lunch? That tends to be where my mind goes. Oh, where am I going to go for lunch today? What am I going to have? When you're sitting there and you're thinking, and you realise, actually, I've wandered off because I've not been engaged. The person is just talking at me. Another way for engagement is to tell a joke. Because when you tell a joke, this is a bit more difficult though, so please be careful with this. When you tell a joke, if it lands, that's great. You've automatically engaged the audience in what you're saying. But if it doesn't, then you have a problem, because then you've told a joke and it's fallen flat and everybody has watched. So I don't normally use jokes. What I tend to try to do is use levity. Levity is different. You're making things light-hearted, and by doing that, using levity instead of a hard joke, you'll find that you get more of a chuckle rather than a raucous laughter. But you're not trying to be a comedian. That's not what you're doing here. You're just trying to get people to be involved by using light-hearted moments, by talking about light-hearted stories which are maybe a little bit humorous. You engaging people in what you're saying. They are in their head, they may be laughing, chuckling along with you, listening, storytelling, fantastic way to engage attention. So use light-hearted moments, use levity rather than a joke necessarily, unless you're really funny, and then go for it, because jokes can be a brilliant way to engage people and keep them listening to what you're saying. You need to practice this. Conversation from a stage is not as simple as it sounds. It sounds easy, but it really isn't. You have to work at it, unfortunately. So make sure you do. Take the time to maybe even record yourself or watch yourself back in the mirror, get someone to give you feedback about what you're saying, and refine. The point of practicing and preparing is to refine it. If you go through it and you think, this is something wrong with this bit, or I'm a little bit bored talking about this, or can I make this more simple? And I heard somebody say once that when we take our time to refine something again, to go over it one more time, one more edit on a video, one more go through our script, it gives us a chance to improve it by 100%. I'll make up the 100%, but it's true, because the more you go over something, the more little bits you can tweak. You don't want to overdo it and over-rehearse it, but you do want to make it well thought out, because if you want to have a good conversation, it needs to be well structured, well thought out, well prepared, and they're the best conversations you can have with an audience. So take your time going through your material, preparing it, making sure you're doing everything you can to converse well with your audience, so that when you're on the stage, you can then be looking for those non-verbal cues. You could be thinking about engaging them with Q&A. You could be going through other things when you're on the stage, rather than just worrying about your own performance, because you've got that bit down. So make sure you practice to be able to give a really good conversational style speech or presentation. Now, I really hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure you go and get that hook guide to be able to craft excellent hooks And let me know if there's anything else you need help with in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.